Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now years ago, back in 2007, if your PC could run Crysis and run it well at higher settings, then you certainly had something quite special inside your PC case. Years on in 2024, and well, integrated graphics have come a long way. So today we're going to be trying to run this game, this legendary, hard to run title on nothing but an iGPU. The Radeon 890M, I've assigned 8GB of our available 32 gigs of DDR5 to the graphics memory here. The RAM is running at 7500 MHz, which should help us out. And of course the 890M is part of the Ryzen AI 9 HX370, a 12-core CPU for today's video. So let's get into it and see if we can max out this absolute classic on an integrated solution in 2024. So first of all then, let's talk about the graphical options. We're going to go into the settings here, click on the graphics, and as you can see we have 1080p, anti-aliasing quality is currently off, we have full screen enabled, VSync is off, and for the visual settings we have very high across the board. Now you can try and turn motion blur off, but I think it's a bit of a, not necessarily a glitch, but something to do with the engine. When you try and turn motion blur off with, I believe, post-processing set to very high, it will revert to custom and it is still going to be enabled in-game, but luckily I can type in a console command to turn it off completely, and I will be doing that before jumping into the gameplay as a personal preference. I don't particularly like motion blur, so we'll do that and then load up the first level, or the first level we're going to be testing in today's one. So here we are, 1920 by 1080, the very high settings. As you can see, the game looks fantastic. I'll just confirm for you that motion blur is off. I entered con_restricted 0 to enable the sort of developer mode, and then r_motion blur 0 to get rid of the motion blur here. Post-processing now says custom and motion blur says off. Let's get back into the game. We're going to hit the key to enable the MSI Afterburner overlay here and Riva Tuner overlay, of course. And as you can see, we are hitting a glorious plus 60 frames per second. I think this game holds up really well, just like the detail on the foliage and like the shadows under the plants. The leaves, for instance, I mean, this is a 2007 game and it looks absolutely fantastic. Up close, some of the textures are a bit of a giveaway. Of course, I mean, these leaves look good until you get right up close, same as the rocks and that, but to be honest, I cannot complain at all. And as you can see on our 890M Radeon integrated solution here, it is running with at least 60 frames per second. What I'll do now briefly before we continue is see if we can up the anti-aliasing as well. I'm not sure what this uses, be it FXAA or MSAA, but if I hit X8 or times 8, will it still... Oh, that is actually pretty system intensive, so I'm guessing that's probably MSAA or something, because it really does drop. Oh my goodness. Oh, he spotted me on the boat. Let's just turn invisible for a second. Yeah, I think we're going to turn it off, or at least turn it down. It doesn't seem to make much of a difference anyway. We'll just set that to 2x instead. See what that does for us. I mean, yeah, we're still getting at least 70 like this. Doesn't seem to do much in terms of alleviating the jagged edges around palm trees and stuff. I'm just going to turn it off. You know, I'm going to call this sort of maxed out bar the anti-aliasing solution. I guess some of you may call that cheating, but it doesn't look that different visually, and considering the performance increase... Will you leave me alone? I'm trying to explain something. Let's just see if we can wipe those guys on the boat out first of all. They're always a pain to deal with. Let's see. Aiming a bit... Oh, and here comes a fella down here. Right, I haven't played this properly in quite a while. I think they actually brought this to the PS3, and that was the first time I played through the whole game. It was on console. So running on a PS3, it looked pretty good. It was probably equivalent to something like, I don't know, medium settings, I guess. But it looked pretty good, ran pretty well, albeit at 720p. As you can see here, a few dips to the low 60s, high 50s there. Yeah, this is basically as high as I would go. I wouldn't turn anything else up in terms of anti-aliasing, but we can get away with very high and plus 60 FPS. There we go. Oh, hang on, fellas. Need to reload. There we go. There's one. There's two. Probably take the silencer off this weapon. don't need that now. I think my cover's pretty much blown, isn't it? This still looks great. The sort of tropical vistas look great. The water looks fantastic. I'm going to put this, I usually just blow this up, but I'm going to put it over here. We're going to take a look at some of the destruction elements in 2024, see if we can't cause that frame rate to really dip. There we go, look at that. Yeah, it dips to, well, 45 there. The 0.1% lows are no doubt going to be heavily affected. I know that this also sort of stutters a little as we load into a checkpoint. So what I'll do is I shall get into this vehicle, driver's side, otherwise we'll just sit in the passenger side for ages with nothing going on. We're going to drive through the checkpoint. You'll see in a minute that there'll be a little bit of stutter. I will enable or start the FPS benchmark now, if I can actually turn my vehicle around. You'll see, there we go, look, the little stutter there. So the 0.1% lows are going to be heavily affected by that, but I'd just ignore those if I were you. Let's just wipe out these guys here. We'll load up a different, whoa, there we go. And I've driven straight into the jungle as well. I also love the destruction in this game. It's always been good. I think it's always held up. Let's take these guys out. We're playing on easy difficulty because I just get absolutely wiped out on anything higher. This was also a pretty difficult game as well from what I remember if you turned the difficulty settings up. I'm going to have a separate benchmark for this section of the game because as you can see it's starting to really pick up now, but we'll load up Ascension, which some of you may remember is one of the more notoriously demanding maps included in the original Crysis. I think they even took it out of the remastered version before adding it back in. Maybe they had to optimize it a bit more, but you'll see why it's quite demanding in a minute. In fact, we'll end the FPS benchmark here for this part of the video, and then we'll fire up Ascension. Alright, so here we are, Ascension. This is a pretty demanding level for Crysis. I'm still using the same very high settings as you can see here, and not much is occurring. We are dipping below 60 frames per second already. Not so much now. I mean, we're back up towards 80, 90. The 0.1% lows are going to be affected again, simply because the checkpoints do cause little micro stutters here and there. There's a lot of sort of cloud cover here, stuff that really affects the frame rate. Look at this, we're down to 40 FPS. As we take on some of the aliens here. I was always awful at this mission. Frame rate's all over the place, still more than playable. The CPU is hanging back at around 7 to 10% utilization, so not really doing much here. Consuming up to around 55 watts, which I believe is the maximum for the AI HX370, and I have just flown into a tornado, which is not helping our frame rate. I remember that quite a lot. We have to sort of avoid the tornadoes because otherwise things like that happen. Let's activate the afterburner and hopefully avoid it. Come on, activate afterburner. And we're sucked back in. Let's go. Escape the tornado. Escape the tornado. What an absolute disaster. Look at the damage to my craft here. Can we get out of here? If we just blow some of the trees out of the way, create a clearing. I wonder if we can just fire through the trees. Come on. I know you want to. Oh, yes. Yes, look at that. That worked out pretty well. I think we had some... Mate, did I just fly into the mountain or something? Or have I just passed the level? Have I just got to the... No, I haven't. I've been wiped out. Absolutely hopeless. So this is more demanding than the first part of the game. But as you can see, I think it's still doing pretty well considering how demanding this level was and is. In fact, on lower end hardware, I think our system is holding up quite well as well. This is of course the ultimate test of integrated graphics these days. It really does help to give you some context, I think, when the top cards back in the day couldn't run this and some cards now even struggle to. I think this gives you a good idea of how far these iGPUs have come. Now that I'm older, I definitely appreciate the story more, and it's easy to do so when the sort of visuals hold up in a sense as well. Sometimes you can play an older game and maybe the visuals put you off a little bit. There we go. Let's take out some of these aliens. I was always useless at this mission as well, so it's nice to see that I'm actually doing quite well. He's gone. Let's just... my mouse is just all over the place. I'm using like a cheap wireless £5 mouse and it's like... got the sensitivity of a who knows what. There we go. I think it's doing okay. I expected dips way below 30 frames per second to be fair, so it's nice to see that we are still hitting at least that basically maxing this game out without anti-aliasing, because that would be disastrous right now. We'd certainly be seeing some major problems if we had anti-aliasing enabled, but there we go. Crysis 2007 on the Radeon 890M, possibly the best iGPU money can buy, or the best iGPU as featured as part of the best Ryzen APUs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you with another... Whoa, avoid the mountain, too late. I'll see you with another benchmark very soon.